Okay guys, welcome back. Here's where we left off. So now we're gonna start and do some work on feet. First of all, let's move this base part over to the base layer, and now let's go into the top viewport and start working on one of these feet. We're actually gonna create one along with the cylinder and stuff, and then we're gonna use Radial Array. So start by dragging out a cylinder, make it 925 millimeters. Okay, try to match it with the foot. Go into the side view and using the Extrude tool, just extrude it upwards. Okay, now we're going to collapse these edges and also create a support edge. Remember, I'm using the bevel tool with B, and I'm holding now shift and clicking once to reactivate the tool. Okay, now let's do that little inset over there. Okay, shift click once, and now let's match this up. And maybe do it a little different than this reference. Maybe add a taper, just like I did. Okay, now let's add a few support edges. Okay, this is a bit too sharp. Okie dokie. And now we can just scale this in and then write down and delete. And now we need to add a few support edges here just to get a sharp edge, because we do want to have these are gonna have two different materials, this loop here and the whole object. So we do want to have a bit of a geometry difference in between them. Okay, that's okay. Maybe, I don't know, maybe actually move these a bit down just so we can make a more interesting shape. Okay. Now we have our foot. Now the next thing we need to do is to create that cylinder which connects the foot to the base. But first we need to create this thing here, this piece of mesh, which is actually a copied version of this one. So Control C, Control V, and rotate it 180 degrees on the x-axis. Move it down and scale it down. Maybe even more. Scale down. Okay. And since we're not gonna see this inner part, we're going to delete it and collapse the edges. Okay, I accidentally deleted the whole mesh there. Okay. And now we can go back to our foot. So let's create this cylinder. So we can probably create it in the front. Yeah. "12 sides. The radiuses are equal. And we're going to rotate it into, actually, to help us, actually to save us time, we're going to model this in a straight position. Okay, maybe even scale it down. Okay. Now we're going to delete the cap from both sides, and let's create that little ring there. So we're going to add an edge loop slice. We're going to copy those polygons, and we're going to use thicken. I'm sorry, thicken, not bevel. You want it pretty thick. And let's add those support edges. And maybe we want it to be sharp on the outside. So we're going to go in and add an edge on the outside. Okay. And now we can remove this edge because we no longer require it. And let's make some room here for the joint, which we're going to create in just a minute. Okay, I'm just making sure that it has a bit of thickness. Okay. And this one needs to be scaled down a bit. And now let's create the joint. Let's copy those polygons, flip them, and we're just gonna extend them using edge extend right up here. And we want this to be fairly smooth. Okay, maybe oops, maybe even make it like that. Okay. let's add a bit of a curve here. Makes things a bit more interesting. Okay, we accidentally flipped this one when we flipped that piece. Okay, and let's move this just like that. And now it's time to place it. So we're going to use rotate, but since we have the action center set to automatic, if it's not set to automatic, make sure it is, and press E on your keyboard and then click right here, because we want to rotate it from that spot. Sorry, make sure you hide the base of the foot and just rotate it downwards. And now you can unhide. And let's see how this looks like. It looks a bit small. I mean, this arm here needs to be, actually the leg needs to be a bit longer, but we can fix that just by using a local action center and just move it. Okay. And now we need to create this small connection here, which can be done very, very simple. We're just going to create a polygon in there. Okay. Let's save our scene. And we're going to create it using the curve extrude tool, which you can find under the duplicate tab. Activate it, set your steps to automatic, and just extrude it downwards until it fits tightly in that hole. Okay. Let's make sure that is straight. Okay. We're pretty much done with this. We just need to delete the cap on the bottom. That way we won't be forced to add any more helping edges or support edges. Okay, now let's maybe we can do like I don't know, I didn't do this on my previous modeling attempt, so I'm thinking we can probably add some sort of a rubber I'm missing the word right now, but it's like a something that protects the joint from dust and humidity and all that. So we're gonna do that right now. We're just gonna select those polygons, copy them, flip, or actually no, don't flip. Just scale them inward a bit so we can distinguish them from the other set of polygons. Just move them up and scale them out, just like that. Okay, now we can add a bit of thickness. So thicken. And we can delete this inner polygons because they won't be seen. Okay, we can probably add a cut there, and you'll see in a minute why. So now we can scale this more outward without deforming. Okay, that looks pretty good, except for this thing here, which we need to move inward. Okay, and now if we check, they look okay. Maybe move this a bit down and make sure that sits tight. Save the scene, and now we can go ahead and actually, yeah, we have a gap here. We don't really want to see that gap. So we're going to select this and scale it in till we don't see any gap. Maybe scale this in too. Okay. Save the scene again. I got used to saving very often, because when I'm recording, Modo likes to crash more than ever. He just hates Camtasia. Okay, now let's, I don't know, maybe let's create some kind of detail here, maybe those rivets. So create them fairly big, exaggerated actually. Okay, extrude, now bevel, and inset, shift and drag in. Now delete, and maybe create some, I don't know, some small detail in here. Okay, we need support edges on this side. And on this side, because we want this to be fairly fairly sharp. Okay, so a few more edges. Okay. Now maybe we can make this taper in. Okay, and let's just drag it in. Now let's mirror it on the other side, although it has come to my attention that these kind of rivets are only meant to be from one side, be it left or right, and therefore I'm only gonna leave it on this side, but I'm going to extend it so it shows on the other side. And on this side I'm gonna make it cap, just like that. In some cases where you're actually required to drill a hole in this surface because of close-up shots, but I'm not going to do it here because we're not going to have a close-up shot. I'm just adding more detail on this side. Okay, that's actually there to make sure the rivet doesn't fall out actually. Okay, and we're pretty much done with the rivet. Maybe push this in a bit more. It's kind of out too much. Okay, now let's save the scene. Next step is to recreate these feet. So go to duplicate radial array. Make sure your action center is set to origin, and click once. Obviously we don't need that many, we only need 4. Oh yeah, the action center was set to origin and our object wasn't set to origin, so we're going to use an automatic action center. Activate the tool, make sure you have 4 selected just to avoid any crashes, and just click in the center of that base cylinder, and there we have it. Okay, now maybe rotate them to match, just like that, and save our scene. And that's about it for the base. Okay, now that we're done with the base, let's rename this layer to base 2 and make a new mesh item. Next, we are going to do the ammo holder. So, the ammo holder. The ammo holder is basically a box. So let's hide all the layers so we can see what we're doing, and just create a box just like that. Create a box and try to match it to our thingy here. Okay. Try not to, when you're modeling things, that in the final shot they are either rotated or, I don't know, moved around. Try not to do the rotation when you're modeling. Just model them and then rotate them. And probably this was too much. Okay. And we're just gonna use, actually no, when I did it the first time I just sub-D'd once, but now that I have a reference, I can skip the sub-D part and just model from a box. It's actually better this way because I'm not going to use that many polygons. Okay. This is looking good for now, but we still have to sub-D it once to get the rounded corners without beveling or doing anything else. So now that we did it, now we're gonna need to remove some of these edges because they don't really do anything. Actually, leave that one. Okay. And let's maybe taper it in just a little bit. Okay, as for the back, we're going to make sure your action center is set to automatic and not local. And now we're going to scale it on the z-axis, kind of negative, maybe -30. Okay, now going to the left and rotate it to match. I'm just going for a different shape from what I originally had because, well, simply because I think this looks better. Okay. And now let's maybe puff this side a bit. It looks way too flat. this one needs to be flat because it will be against the support on the side. So we're gonna leave that flat. Now for the back here, let's try and fix these edges to give it a more decent look. Maybe even scale them outward. Okay, that was okay. Maybe bring these a bit up, just like that. Okay, now now in here we want to have some detail, so we're just gonna go ahead and create some, and of course add the support edges that we need. Maybe even this vertex here is gonna bother us when we try to bevel it. Same for this one. Okay. Adds some nice detail there. Save the scene. And now we can go ahead and maybe, I don't know, maybe play with it a bit more. I don't know, let's try and give this side a bit more of a curved shape. Yeah, that's okay. And let's make this sharp here because you want this can be like, I don't know, some sort, maybe even remove those edges that we created and maybe create kind of like a seam to show that we you can like pull it out and reload it with ammo, something. I don't really know how it works. I'm just thinking and making it up as I go. Okay, create a small bevel there and select this loop and bring it in. That should work, although it can probably go in a bit further. Okay, maybe just like that. And now we can add the support edges to keep that edge sharp, and we do want it to be sharp, not that soft. And maybe go in and straighten this out because it's a bit off, if you can see. And maybe that's too much. Actually, no. Okay, I'm sorry. I think the first version looked a bit better, because what I intend to do is give that row of polygons a black material so it actually mimics a separation there. I don't really want to create that separation, so I'm just gonna fake it, sort of say. Okay, now let's create that little bulge there, which probably gonna be like that. So let's get these polygons. Maybe this is a bit too much. So let's get only these. So bevel in, hold shift, click once, and then don't use the blue handle, just use the move tool, move it back, Control X, Control V, and now just extrude it outward. Depends how much you want it to stick out. Okay. Yeah, this appears to be a bit too thick for my taste, so I'm just going to add another edge loop there. I'm just making sure it doesn't affect our overall shape too much. Okay, and I'm just going to do it here. Same steps as before. Okay, let's add an edge bevel on those edges. Help round things off. Okay. I'm sorry, I probably forgot to mention the shortcuts used to hide and unhide stuff, and I use them quite a lot. I'm very, very sorry. So I'm just gonna lay them out for you right now. U unhides everything. H hides the selected object. Shift H hides everything but the selected object. I'm very, very sorry, and I apologize if you couldn't go on without knowing these, but I'm sorry again. Now let's move on here, and let's add a first support edge right there. Okay, let's add these corner supports. One way we can do that without adding extra geometry is using the existing edges by using edge slide. But as you can see, that messes up our shape, so we're forced to add extra edges. Okay, probably need one here to help not mess that corner up, but I'm afraid we're gonna have to add one just right there. Yeah. Okay, let's repeat the process for this side. Okay, let's look at the back. Yeah, the back still looks okay. Oh no. Sorry. Modo crashes again, so I'll pause and resume. Okay, so I almost catched up. There's one thing I want to do. It just came into my mind, and that is I want to give this flat part here a bit of a curve. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to select everything up till here and hide it, just so I don't accidentally select some vertices that I don't really want to. So I'm just going to add a bit of a curve there. It doesn't have to be perfect, just to make it more interesting. And actually, we need to select the whole thing. Okay. Now we can unhide everything and make sure this is set smooth. Okay. Now let's go back to our support edges, save, Modo crashed quite a bit today. It's probably the weather. I don't know. Okay. Now this edge here. And we should be good to go. We just need one more down there. Okay. That makes things a lot more interesting. Okay, now let's make sure this I'm sorry, just a okay, I apologize for that. I was actually waiting for someone to contact me. I didn't think he'll do it right now, and Modo coughed up again. Oh boy. And there we go. I actually saved right before it crashed, so no big problem. What I'm doing now is I'm just adding the edges to match the ones that are on the body, so the button fits perfectly. Okay. I think it's a bit too much brought out, so I'm gonna force it in just a little bit. Okay, maybe even, I don't know, give it a slight taper on the tip here, but we need to add an edge so we can limit the taper. We don't want it to go all the way. Okay. Repeat the process for the top. Just don't forget to move that little vert back. Okay. And there we go. Save the scene. And the ammo holder is almost done. We just need to add the ammo slot at the top, which should be probably around there. And now that now that I had time to rethink this, I think that this top slot here should be used to throw out ammo. So yeah, basically I'm gonna change it. I'm not gonna leave it on this side, so I'm gonna put it here on the side. So just make a small bevel, shift click, drag it in, and delete. We need to make sure we add some support edges. The only problem is they kind of bother us on this side. So let's try and add them only on the vertical. And that should work. Okay. We're actually gonna have a bullet coming out of here. But probably this needs to go a bit further in. Okay, and this is the completed ammo slot. Let's hide the reference, the backdrop images, and let's just move it. Okay, make sure your action center is set to automatic so you can move the whole thing. And save your scene. And now this can probably use a bit of rotation. and just like that. Maybe go a bit up with it. Let's see how our reference image puts it. Yeah, it's a bit at the bottom, but kind of looks more better at the top here. I wanted to make it a little longer, so I'm gonna use the lasso selection tool and make sure I select just those pieces and just move it out a bit more, just so it sticks out. Okay, and now save. Our Gatling gun is almost complete, so I'm guessing next we need to, well, actually I'm not guessing. Next we're going to do the the bullet and then the crosshair, and after that we're going to texture it and give it a render.